Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Joe Palmer begins now.
Good evening, everyone. As the state faces an early start to the bushfire season, Parliament has today erupted into personal attacks over the state's readiness to fight a major blaze. The government has once again been accused of under-resourcing frontline crews, but volunteers say they are ready to act if a fire breaks out.
A political stoush over the bushfire season getting personal.
My question is to the incompetent Minister for Police, Fire and Emergency.
No, I'm sorry, that's very, very unparliamentary, and I ask you to withdraw it.
The government once again facing questions today over our aerial firefighting capacity, remote teams and crew numbers. Following concerns, authorities have been left unprepared before the worst of the season is expected to hit.
Were you even aware that during last week's total fire ban, volunteer brigades had to be sent down from the northwest because TFS could not fill their strike team requirements in the south?
But to this comment, firefighters fought back. The Chief Officer saying in a statement it was standard practice to move resources to where there's the greatest need.
What we have in the state is a totally mobile fire service that can move where the problems are.
Volunteers are there, we're out there to support one another. If you don't get a fire in your local community, you'll go to the next community, you'll travel the state.
The head of the Volunteer Brigades Association saying while there could always be more volunteer firefighters, he is comfortable about the season ahead.
I don't get into politics, I don't like them really, but some people get involved in them and it gets makes a mole into a big mountain.
For now, he's preparing for what's predicted to be a long and busy summer ahead.
That's what we're there for. So, yeah, we're ready for it. When it comes, let it come.
Michelle Wisby, 7 Tasmania News.
2 men have gone on trial in Launceston over a shooting at Kings Meadows in January this year. Jacob Williams and Marcus Williams have both pleaded not guilty to the incident that saw a man allegedly robbed and shot in the leg. Our reporter Sean McComish has more.
Jacob Williams and Marcus Williams both stand accused of aggravated armed robbery and committing an unlawful act intending to cause bodily harm. On January 9, Jacob Williams' partner and her son were the victims of an alleged home invasion, which saw the pair covered in petrol. It's alleged Jacob Williams soon formed a belief a man named Kurt Jenkins was responsible. 3 days later, both defendants allegedly lured Mr Jenkins to a McDonald's car park in South Launceston. He was then allegedly forced to drive at gunpoint to Pinkard Street at Kings Meadows. Prosecutors allege they tried to persuade Mr Jenkins into a house, but he refused. The 27-year-old was then shot in the leg during a scuffle, but defence for Jacob Williams argue there was only one gun and that it belonged to the victim. Today, police detectives also confirmed no weapon had been recovered in the investigation. The accused men are not related to each other. There's also no suggestion Mr Jenkins was responsible for the home invasion at Kings Meadows. Police officers, bystanders and the alleged victim are all expected to give evidence. The trial continues tomorrow.
Tasmania Police is hunting for a group of thieves who targeted 3 businesses in the early hours of this morning. Burglars unsuccessfully attempted to rob 2 supermarkets in Norwood and Waverley before smashing their way into a supermarket in Longford, where it's alleged they stole $4,000 worth of cigarettes. Authorities believe the break-ins are linked to yesterday's ram raid and robbery of the Ravenswood IGA.
It's definitely the same MO that we're seeing, the same vehicle being used and the same product that's been targeted.
Business owners are warned to be on high alert and if they witness anything suspicious to contact Crime Stoppers. A family home at Magra has been destroyed by fire with a damage bill of $300,000. Investigators are still yet to determine the cause, but say despite firefighters' best efforts, the old structure couldn't be saved.
A buckled roof and charred walls, a home reduced to rubble. This is the devastating scene facing a Magra family just 1 month out from Christmas.
As you can see behind you with the structure, it's pretty well gutted the whole structure. I can tell you that there was certainly nobody injured as a result of this.
Forensics and fire service personnel conducting their investigations this morning, trying to determine a cause.
To establish whether there's, or what the cause is really, whether it's a natural cause through electrical or whether there's anything suspicious.
Fire crews were alerted to the incident at around 1 a.m, but despite a quick response, by the time they arrived, this family home was fully engulfed in flames.
Quite often you lose your whole life possessions, whether it's photographs, other memorabilia, you know, given the time of year that we have coming up to Christmas.
The efforts of Tasmania's volunteer fire brigade praised.
They're pretty keen, they're pretty motivated bunch up here, and you know, they've obviously done the best they possibly could.
Thankfully, the structure next door and its contents were protected, but there's no doubt that offers little relief on today's loss. Louise Hedger, 7 Tasmanian News.
Proposed legislation to impose mandatory minimum jail time for child sex offenders has passed its first hurdle. Late this afternoon, independent member Madeleine Ogilvie joined forces with the government to push the plan through the lower house. It's the third time the government has tried to pass the laws, with Labor, the Greens and Speaker Sue Hickey voting against the bill today. It will now go to the Legislative Council for further debate. Westbury community members will have the chance to meet with the state's Corrections Minister next month over the proposed Northern Prison. Letters are being sent out to more than 1,900 households and businesses in the Meander Valley, inviting them to one-on-one discussions. The state government says these sessions are in addition to the Justice Department's ongoing consultation. Earlier this month, Elise Archer and Guy Barnett were confronted by frustrated locals when they held a surprise visit to the town. The meetings will be held across 3 days next month. The crew from a French icebreaker stuck in Hobart has thanked the Australian Antarctic Division for its assistance. Today, our cameras were granted access to the Lestrade to tour the state-of-the-art ship before it leaves this weekend to undergo vital repairs.
On the bridge of the Astrolabe, they're now planning an unexpected voyage to Perth. The French icebreaker redirected from its Antarctic resupply run to head in for repairs.
It's always disappointing for a crew to have technical problems, and as you know, the mission is so great, so we are all eager to come back and to resume the mission.
The ship is experiencing issues with its propeller shaft, affecting its ability to navigate in the icy Antarctic conditions, forcing the French Polar Institute and Navy to make the decision to temporarily suspend the 2-year-old vessel's operations.
It's quite normal to have such a wear after just 2 years of commissioning, and that's why we need to investigate, and that's why we go to the dry dock.
The crew areas should be a hive of activity and its cargo decks full. But the freight and personnel are now using Australia's icebreaker, the Aurora Australis, to travel to the French station de Monteville.
The French Institute has a close relationship with the Antarctic Division, and they work very close together to reduce the impact of the scientific programs.
The icebreaker is due to set sail this weekend before a dry dock period next month. Ebony Ablett, 7 Tasmanian News.
Welcome back, everyone. In the midst of a health crisis, a $50 million private hospital development is facing hurdles. The 3-storey construction in Newtown would house 6 operating theatres, a 24-bed ward and 36 recovery beds. But council officers have urged for it to be rejected on several points, including the impact the 24-hour hospital will have on residential amenities. Last night, the Hobart City Council's Planning Committee voted against approval. The matter will go before the full council next week. Tasmanian farmers are joining forces to try and reduce the amount of food being grown and wasted. It's estimated globally around 25% of fruit and vegetables are destroyed because of an unattractive appearance, and experts say that desperately needs to change.
A A well-trodden path, these agricultural workers are tending to their crops. A significant amount of salad vegetables are grown on this farm in Richmond to be dispersed nationwide. But adverse weather conditions can cause crop chaos.
We've had previous seasons where we've had heavy rain and hail events, and again that can lead to real challenges with utilising all of the crop.
Those damaged but fresh products then aren't bought by consumers.
It's not a stretch to say it's heartbreaking, because you do put so much energy and time and effort into producing a crop that you hope that consumers will really want to buy, and it can be devastating for businesses.
I think at the moment it's the elephant in the room globally. People are realising that it's a significant cost. Tasmania is no different to other parts of the world with regard to how we produce our product.
But a new initiative called the Tasmanian Food Cluster is aiming to address that by finding ways to use the produce differently.
What we're trying to do is connect up other food businesses that can turn that produce into other ingredients, like drying it, pureeing it, juicing it.
Tasmanian horticultural farmers will be taking part in an online survey to determine just how much produce is lost each year, with the issue estimated at the moment as being in the millions. Louise Hedger, 7 Tasmania News.
A headliner for next year's Dark Mofo has been revealed, and it's a big one. Musical act Bon Iver is set to perform at the Winter Festival in June for its first Tasmanian appearance. It's not yet known what's in store for the local performance, but previously they've staged spectacular visual shows using lights and moving mirrors. Spotify lists the group as having more than 5 million monthly listeners. A select group of Tasmanian medical students has today been presented with awards after returning from placements with the Royal Flying Doctor Service. The trio worked with local crews in remote New South Wales and South Australia, treating patients in isolated areas. Students say the experience gained on the 2-week adventure will assist with their transition into the workforce.
More about adapting to a different way of providing healthcare and having the capacity to think on your feet.
The RFDS hopes the scholarships will encourage more graduates to practice in outback Australia.
In a shock appointment, Tigers captain George Bailey is set to be unveiled as Cricket Australia's new national selector. It's reported the 37-year-old will join the selection panel alongside Australian coach Justin Langer and Trevor Hons, with an announcement imminent in the coming days. Current Australian players, including captain Tim Payne, have publicly backed Bailey for the job. Tasmanian AFL hopefuls are nervously awaiting tomorrow night's draft pick to learn if they'll be signed by any major clubs. Talent managers have touted one homegrown player as a near certainty, with a handful of others also a chance.
With speed, a strong mark and great game awareness, it's no surprise a number of AFL clubs have their eyes fixed on 18-year-old Mitch O'Neill.
The higher the level of football he plays, the better he actually is. So he's very accomplished in most fields of what's needed for AFL footy.
The midfielder looms as Tassie's brightest prospect heading into the draft tomorrow night.
I think he'll go mid-second round. That's what I believe he'll be in the mix.
Off the back of strong form in the NAB League this year, O'Neill was selected in the All-Australian Under-18 side for the second year in a row. He's among a handful of Devils players also in search of an AFL dream.
Jared Dakin might have a bit of a look in, although he didn't play many games this year. I think his form as a 17-year-old was very, very solid, and I think Matthew McGuinness has had a very good year as a 19-year-old.
As great as it looks on TV and everything like that, it's a tough business, and you've got to have the right character to do that, and those 3 boys I mentioned certainly have that.
Despite a low number of Tasmanian representatives shortlisted for the draft this year, talent scouts aren't concerned.
You have big years, you have small years, and I think right from day dot we knew that we were going to be a little bit lighter on in a draft sense.
Garth Burley, 7 Tasmania News.
Good evening. The cold front did move over, bringing a few showers. Overnight 23 millimetres fell at Triabunna, while today Little Forester in the northeast registered 11 millimetres to top the list. Hobart and Burnie 18 degrees, Launceston 20, while Devonport had our high of 21. Lowhead and Ooze 19 degrees, Grove 17, Smithton 16, Strawn, Friendly Beaches and the Islands 15 degrees. Low-level cloud over us today, as well as a layer of higher cloud over the northeast. You can see the speckled look of that cold pool of air to the west. The cloud with the low is off our northeast. Cooler air sits to our west ahead of a second front. That's south of the Bight. High cloud has moved over the northern half of the continent. Tomorrow the next front approaches and crosses in the evening. Surface troughs, the main feature over the mainland tomorrow. Winds west northwesterly increasing to 20 to 30 knots from late morning, swells to 3 metres. Strong wind warning for all Tasmanian coastal waters apart from the lower east, and a strong wind warning also over the southwest lakes. Tomorrow for Hobart, a cloudy day, a top of 20, 17 for Geeveston with a shower or two developing, Bothwell cloudy and 17 degrees. Launceston, a high of 17, becoming windy and cloudy tomorrow, maybe a light shower for Devonport and 17, 18 the top for Cressy. Burnie tomorrow can expect 16 degrees with a shower or two on the way, showers increasing for Strawn, 15, Curry a top of 16, and in the east tomorrow, partly cloudy for St Helens and 19, up to 21 for Swansea and Orford. UV, very high 10s tomorrow, but an extreme 11 over Burnie. On Thursday, a morning shower for the west and south and a light one for the lower east. Possible showers creeping through on Friday with light winds, and on Saturday showers across the state with light winds and afternoon coastal sea breezes. Sunny and 34 in Perth tomorrow, fine and sunny as well for Adelaide and Melbourne. That fine clear forecast extends over New South Wales as well, but a shower or storm likely for Brisbane and Darwin. Mostly sunny in Hobart at 16 degrees, 17 right now in Launceston, Devonport sunny and 7.
That's all from the team for now. Have a beautiful evening. We'll see you a bit later with updates. Bye-bye.